We are a combination of a kind of small group personal training facility and large group all in one. So private coach-led facility, but we do a combination of small group personal training and large group.
This week we have Jerome, owner of Madisons, returning to the podcast.
What are we committed to doing on a daily basis to make sure that we are putting the right things out to the world? And I think it's a constant thing we're trying to battle. I know there are people in this membership that need more support, but they're not reaching out.
Yeah.
It's on us. How do we really get that out of them? Everyone should put a lot of effort into organic. We have 3 numbers to keep it simple. We post on the grid once a day, post to our stories 10 times a day, and we have at least 20 engagement interactions. The best tip I could give for business owners learning business is actually...
This episode of the podcast is proudly sponsored by our partners Over and Above. Over and Above is a cutting-edge sports performance brand at the crossroads of sports science and technology. Founded by athletes for athletes, they design compression garments that optimize your body's physical capabilities. Their Proprio range focuses on proprioception, giving you improved control, movement, efficiency, and reduced fatigue. Not only are Over and Above garments perfect for elevating your own performance, especially in high rocks competitions, but they're also a great way to create an additional revenue stream by selling them as merch to your clients or members. And here's the best part, FMA clients get a 30% profit share on every sale. Ready to take your training and business to the next level? All you need to do is visit oaperformance.com to find out more. That's oaperformance.com. Jerome, welcome back to the FMA podcast. Good to have you in the studio. It's me this time, obviously, rather than Ben. So what we're going to do in this episode, and for those that are listening that haven't listened to the previous episode with yourself, I recommend going ahead and checking out that episode. We cover the story of how Jerome created Madisons and Minka and how he's built this business. In this episode, we're going to go at it from a slightly different angle. We're going to take a bit of a higher level approach from the business. We're going to look at every kind of section and analyze or run through the data, and from there we're going to talk about how Jerome has achieved that data, or maybe what he needs to do to improve, or kind of go into every single element, whether that's from the marketing, the sales, the service, retention, attrition, building a team, and all of those elements there. So yeah, Jerome, thank you for coming on. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. Yeah, ready to go. Good start to the year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. So before we do dive in, just a very quick recap of the business model, and kind of a bit of an overview about the business before we do dive in.
Cool. So Madisons, based down in Hayward Heath, West Sussex. We are a combination of a kind of small group personal training facility and large group all in one. So private coach-led facility, but we do a combination of small group personal training and large group.
Cool. And how many members are you kind of actively working right now, and what's kind of average yield roughly?
So we have 325-ish like monthly recurring members. Yeah. But active in the building, it's closer to 400 when you include trials and kind of packages. So we're kind of servicing that many people.
So do you still have a number of people that do just buy pay-as-you-go packages as well?
It's a small amount, but we have how we measure packages. We've got some members will buy top-up sessions. So
okay.
Throughout the year, if they want to kind of train a few more times but not upgrade their membership, they might just buy a top-up. And then equally, we have some members that for whatever reason might not want to sign up to a direct debit, so they might do large group. Typically, it's large group only. We don't do packages with personal training. Yeah. But with large group training, people might sign up to a pack of 10 or 20. That's the only option we have. For whatever reason, they are happy to pay a bit more for the convenience of that, and they do that, but it's a handful of people.
Yeah, and paying for 10 or 20 is the equivalent of paying for a month or two, just... It's flexible for them. Is that fair to say? Or
yeah, it's flexibility. Some people might not be able to commit to a certain amount of times per week. It might be due to their own financial decision. I don't know. Could be anything. But people just, like I said, a small amount of people choose to buy packages. It can be great though, because often once they've done that a few times, they might then sign up to a membership.
I gotcha.
Equally, we've had people that are all of a sudden schedule changes. They might work in the city. They don't want to drop their membership completely, but they're not sure how much they can attend. Yeah. They might travel a lot, so they say, well, I'll move off my membership, and they'll buy a pack of 10 or 20 and then just dip in when they can. Yeah.
So it's not, because I think that's the first I've heard that you do, like you pay for kind of drop-in sessions, but in a pack. So is that something that's just it's not advertised, it's not really, most people aren't aware of it, but it's something you use maybe even as like a retention tool, or just keeping people engaged on some level?
Yeah, retention, but also it's kind of like a low barrier for some people joining. If they don't want to sign up to a membership, but they've not experienced, they haven't experienced us yet, that might be a way that they decide to choose us. Especially with the large group training, we don't mind if people. Sometimes you have people out of nowhere just buy a pack of 10. They've heard about us through a friend. They could sign up to a trial. Again, for whatever reason, they decide that they don't do that. They just want to buy a package, so we just let them do that.
Yeah. Can they, and the reason I'm asking this, by the way, is just because with a lot of gyms, it's just direct debit membership. And sometimes the advice is, don't sell sessions because you don't want to do that. But have you found benefit of having these packages alongside the membership? Obviously, selling the packages isn't the primal revenue generator of the business, but it's a small part of it, right?
Yeah, it benefit, again, it's an opportunity to increase. Basically, it's added value for the member. So it always makes sense to be on a membership in terms of like finance wise. It makes more sense to be on a membership. So most people will do that. However, there is this benefit, like I said, especially with the top ups. People might not want to commit. Just say they're training 3 times a week. They might just want some extra sessions to occasionally dip into, because some weeks they want to train for that 4th session or come to a class. So they might buy some top-up sessions, which allow them to do that. They don't want to upgrade to the next membership because it's not a regular thing. They might just found that in the next month they have a bit more time, but they're not entirely sure, so they'll just buy top-ups.
Yeah.
And then obviously for people that are not on a membership, and it might be someone that has never trained with us, that package just allows someone, again, if they're willing to pay a bit more for it, because of their circumstance, they would rather not be on a membership than we just allow them to do that. So the packages just sit there. There's a large group 10 option and a large group 20, and it's visible on the app. People can just buy it if they want to buy it.
Nice. Final question about this, because this is kind of like a side topic, but is this an option given once they go through the sales process and they say, oh, I'm not interested in an ongoing membership? Is it used as like a kind of like a backup plan to offer that person, or is it widely available?
It is widely. We don't promote it, so it's not. It could be used. We very rarely get to that stage. It could be used definitely for, like, if we're speaking to someone that has maybe tried large group and they kind of are vocal about the fact that they don't want to continue with a monthly membership. Then obviously we say no problem. We've got packages. Usually, though, people come to us wanting that. They'll see it that they're adamant. So usually the people that sign up to that from the beginning, they come looking for Madisons and they're already adamant that they don't want to be on a membership.
Yeah.
Whether that's they're anti-direct debits. It could be they know they haven't got the time to commit to a monthly membership. That they are normally people that decide that they want a package. So that's it. Very rarely is it are the packages used tactically from us, because there's enough memberships in there for people to choose out of the membership. However, the top-ups, that's different. So as a regular member, top-ups are available in the app, which, like I said, that's an added value. So people who they find the ability to train more frequently can just buy a top-up rather than committing to an upgrade, basically.
Nice. Okay, cool. And so let's kind of get into each section. So I want to kind of start from the very start, from the perspective of a customer when they're going to see you, and then when they initially speak with you, and go from there. So let's start with marketing. So to have, the members you have, you've got 325 current members. You've also got a number of people on a front end trial. What's your kind of marketing KPIs that you set for the team every single month, and what is it you're doing to achieve those KPIs or get towards those KPIs?
Yeah, so it's a big, we have, so it funnels all the way down from inquiry. So initially we have, obviously, in terms of sales, we've got we have a lead target, we have a trial target, we have a trial conversion into membership, and then we have a sales target, right? So there's a ton of stuff to cover there. We then also have certain inputs. So with marketing, we might say it breaks all the way down to what are we committed to doing on a daily basis to make sure that we are putting the right things out to the world. So we might have the KPIs are also input based around organic content. It's also around how many calls we make each day, and it breaks down all the way down to the emails we send on a weekly basis. So there's number. All I'm doing is looking at all these numbers, and we have targets for all of them, and then we review them very regularly. So I'm looking at these sorts of things every day, but we kind of review them every week with the relevant person. Yeah. Nice.
So in terms of marketing, let's dive into some of those KPIs if you know them off the top of your head. So for like your content strategy, what are the goals there that you have set out in place?
Cool. So organic, going start of the year. So January, obviously now is a great time. So we have organic numbers, and the reason they've actually come about is because we were so poor at it before. So based on the standard Madisons has, organic content has been like a 1 out of 10. It's been terrible. We have not done anywhere near the amount we should be doing. We relied on paid, and obviously relied on our product referrals and word of mouth, right? But we should, and I think everyone should put a lot of effort into organic. Yeah. So we have 3 numbers to keep it simple. So Instagram specific, we post on the grid once a day, post to our stories 10 times a day, and we have at least 20 engagement interactions every day. That's nice. Just a simple start point for January.
And engagement interactions, the definition of that is?
actively, so just like you would on your personal account, if you're social on social media, you're not just responding to someone if they comment in your post. We are actively commenting on other people's posts. Madison's is its own character, right? So if we see a member post something today and it's about, I don't know, 10-year anniversary with their husband, we'll comment on that.
Yeah.
Because Madison's the character would if they walked into the gym, we're kind of speaking for all the coaches.
Yeah.
So we have multiple people that control that, and that's something we started at the end of last year, and we're continuing it into this year.
I love that, because then you're consistently popping up in the newsfeed in more intimate places where friends and family would show up rather than a business. Because from the perspective of a business, it's you post out content and that's kind of basically it. Or some people might DM people, but actually if you're showing up in the notifications, like Madison's just left a comment on your personal post, right? As you said, it's the character of Madison. So I think that's really great. And are you interacting on, is it clients' pages? Is it prospective clients? Is it a mixture of all?
Yeah, mixture. It's kind of like what real is basically just a reflection of our real relationship. So Madison's obviously there's two main categories. You've got people and the businesses. So we have local businesses that we also have local partnerships with. So whether it's
who you partnered with.
So well, as in terms of like just there's local businesses that we either use. So our staff will use just say local barbershops.
Yeah.
There might be the local pizza place that we either work with in terms of like when we have an event, we order pizza from them.
Yeah.
So anyone we already do kind of business with, and we know, it could just be through me personally or the coaches, that on social media, Madisons will follow that page and we will interact with them just because the kind of the businesses do interact in person. So we're just interacting online, and the same with the members. So we would follow. So we'll interact with members and we'll potentially interact with potential members because they might follow us and engage with our posts. So we'll follow them back, and it's just like a back and forth. I said Madison's is like its own person, and it's probably just like it's like a mashup of all the coaches together. It has its own personality, so that's what we do.
Yeah, I love that. And then so you said that, so what you do now is 1 grid post a day, 10 stories and 20 interactions. And for you, is that like kind of hitting the 10 out of 10 on the criteria?
No, that's just the first, that's about getting started. So because it was poor, so we started the year thinking, right, we need to improve it rather than waiting for perfection. So something, and then the poor, it's all on me really. The fact that organic wasn't better and social media hasn't been better is probably because I personally wasn't involved in it and personally didn't kind of like rate it high enough in my priorities. So by doing those, by kind of committing to that target, it means that we'll just improve as we go. So the alternative was we'll wait until it's perfect and we won't do anything. So the idea was we set the numbers, we have to do this regardless, and it will force us to improve all those areas. So we've had content go out that we're like, we know this could be better. Let's just keep posting and let's improve it. It obviously has to go out to a certain standard. We can't just post anything, but we don't want to put it off either. So we just thought, let's get started with that and we'll improve and we'll kind of work on it as we go. Yeah,
I think that's a really important point because I think people probably overthink the content they're putting out in terms of it has to be perfect. And you're right, it should adhere to a certain standard. But the reality is someone's going to see that post once and then it's going to sit on your wall and it's still going to be viewed. But I do believe people probably overthink that. And is that what you were maybe doing? You were thinking it needs to be of a certain quality before it goes out. And was that in fact slowing you down?
Yeah, it was a combination of kind of having these expectations of the quality, but also just not having a target. It just didn't feature like everything else we do. We have inputs that we have to complete, right? And we just didn't have one for organic content. We just weren't doing it, so we just didn't have a strategy, like a kind of a target to meet. And we also we're kind of for me, wanted it to be too perfect and therefore didn't do anything. Yeah.
What would you say, and I know you don't think you're there yet, but what would a 10 out of 10 look like if you could vision that, just so other people can maybe get an idea of what the gold standard may be?
I mean, I guess I'm not the best to ask, but I think working backwards, obviously it has to be relevant to you're posting for a reason, right? So we are talking to a certain individual when we're posting. So it's obviously our members, but also a potential future member. So I guess to be a 10 out of 10, you would have a strategy around why you're actually posting what you're posting and not just posting for the sake of it, right? It has to have meaning and purpose behind it. So you're intentional is the word, like intentional about what you are putting out, and then you're consistent above everything else. So those two things probably combine. I'm missing some stuff, but if we're consistently posting the things that are relevant and we're intentional about it, those two things combined will only mean progress. If we look back in like a year from now and we've posted every single day and we're constantly improving that in terms of making it more and more relevant, and we're getting creative with the types of things we're posting, like would our members enjoy seeing this, or would potential members this might tip them to signing up to Madisons, then great. But consistency is a big one, and then like I said, be intentional about what you're actually posting.
Yeah, nice. And I think there's loads of takeaways there as well. So like one post a day, 10 story posts, 20 interactions to other people. I think that's really, really good. Do you ever do any sort of reach outs like via DMs if someone follows you, or do you do anything like that at all currently?
We don't. I think personally, for me, it's getting the fight again, probably because I didn't like to be sold that way. I feel like there's a lot of people that have probably butchered it. And when I've been approached by someone, my dislike for it has meant we haven't done that. Yeah. I think there's a way to get it right, for sure. So we're not pros at that. So we haven't. Not that I'm anti it. It's just got to be done in the right way.
Nice. Okay, cool. So we kind of covered some organic stuff. And actually, final question on organic. So those are the targets you've set for your for your kind of input. What outputs are you hoping to get once you consistently do this over a period of time? Like, is there a number of leads you're hoping to get from these efforts, or are you just waiting to see what happens with the effort that you currently put in?
Yeah, it's more like a directional improvement. So rather than like a set number, we do want we want to move in the right direction. So what that means for us is, with our social profile, we are obviously a bricks and mortar business based in Haywards Heath. So we want to see if our followers grow and engagement grows, we can monitor that and see that it's in Haywards Heath or surrounding areas. We don't need content to pop off in London, Manchester, whatever, across the UK, because our audience is local, our product is local. So we will monitor Instagram and see that either followers or engagement is increasing close to us, and that is directionally kind of important to me, or the right direction. Sorry. So and then that's kind of it at the moment. Leads wise, we will monitor that as well. So how we do that is by within those kind of like Instagram story posts, we will monitor the amount of links that are clicked. So if we just say occasionally within that 10. Every couple of days we're posting our link to our trial, we obviously monitor the traffic and the conversions, but at the moment that doesn't exist, so I'll be making up a number. We don't have that currently for that, but we do. At the end of last year, we were just monitoring simply the conversions on that page and the amount of sales off the back of that as well. Nice.
And the slight side note, the content for Minka, I think, is really good. So you have someone come in, but for everyone listening, I recommend just following Minka and looking at the content, because it's like, it looks like you guys have a lot of fun with it, is what I'd say in a lot of the posts. And I really, really like it. But just a quick side note there. So we covered organic. So what about paid? So to kind of give a bigger picture actually of the whole marketing, like how many leads are you hoping to get every single month? Is there a range that you're looking for?
Yeah, so last year, and this has changed. So based on the previous year, so we went into 2024 based on 2023 with some simple targets. So for us, it was 100 leads. Yeah. Down into 30 trials and then 20 sales. That was our target for the year. So we just knew the reason that for the 100 lead target though was because we knew that we would get 30% into trials. Yeah. So it was all then filtered down. The reason for that was obviously because we knew that we then get 20 sales off the back of that. So it's roughly 60% into a trial. So that was the important number. So we knew that basically how I looked at that was, what do I need to do to get 20 sales? We missed the target all year, so we're behind. So we can get to that, but that's how it works down.
Yeah, I got you. And in terms of you mentioned like you were behind on the numbers. Is that from the marketing perspective, or is it another level where we'll go into that in just a little bit? Or
it was a few. So it was a combination, organic being poor. Yeah. And also we were slowed down. We had a strategy in place to bring someone into sales, and ultimately it was around the right people in the right seats. So we were delayed into doing that. So we had a plan, and as a few roles were changing internally, by them not happening, it meant that we weren't able to kind of commit to the inputs we needed to deliver on the results. So we had enough leads. So the reason 100 leads is plenty. Ideally, I'd like to see 30 trials off the back of 60 leads, right? Yeah. But based on the numbers, that's kind of where we always end up. Yeah. So that was last year. Poor performance was based on a poor organic strategy, I believe, and then us not being able to do the inputs that we needed in order to get those results.
Nice. Okay, so you were actually getting enough leads, but obviously organically it dipped a little bit. But paid was kind of doing the thing it was meant to be doing for you.
We were behind on both. No, we were low on both. So we undershot. We only achieved 60% throughout. So in the year of 2024, we met 60% of our lead target on average across the year. So that's how far we're behind, right? But pay also, where again distractions within the team, we didn't monitor and review paid for the first like 4 to 6 months of the year. We weren't on top of it, so it's kind of happening in the background. Yeah, we weren't so we know it's happening, but we're not monitoring the results. Yeah, like we do now. It's completely.
It sounds like a trending theme, and I imagine a lot of gym owners can probably relate to this, where it's things that you know you should be doing, but they're not being maybe tracked, or they haven't got the eyes on them consistently as much as they need to be potentially.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It was one. Unfortunately, it's weird to look back now because it's completely different now. But it's one of those ones where at the time, we knew it was working. So I'll give you an example. So just say a landing page is getting traction, and that landing page is achieving 4% conversion. So 4% of people that visit that page end up leaving their details, right? That is what it is. Now, because we were seeing enough people coming through, right, that's a random number. Just say we're happy with, right, we're getting X amount of people through that page, so we're happy. We never looked at the saying, right, well, what if that was, how can we increase that to 6% or 7% or 8%, right? So that is the number. But because we're kind of happy, we're always having this constant flow of leads in the tail end of 2023, we never looked at these. It was like kind of that's working. And because a lot of it was falling on my plate, I was like, as long as that's working, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But actually what we should have done is, and what we do now, and my time is all spent on looking at this regularly, I will look at every number and say, how can we nudge that up? So how can we improve that? Rather than just thinking, right, it's kind of working, we're moving in the right direction. So actually, although we ended the 2023 strong, we should have been way better in 24 if we'd fixed the organic and kind of did the inputs for the paid.
Yeah, and you mentioned the page, and I actually have a question about that. So I know in the last podcast you mentioned this as well, is that you have the price on the page, people opt in. I believe now, or you've been testing price off the page, and is that just the factor to increase lead flow?
It's just I think you've got to test. Yeah, exactly that. Test lead flow, and you don't know until you try things out, right? So it's one of those benefits we think, right, as long as it's not too risky, and we can reverse it.
Yeah.
Just try it out.
That's it. And I think also, and we'll go into this later when we dive more into the sales specifically, but because you now have a dedicated salesperson, they can now work with a higher volume of people. So by taking off the price and bringing more people through, there's more conversations to be had, and in theory, more conversations, more trials, and then it kind of contributes. Was that part of the thought process as well?
Yeah, exactly that. We're trying to build a business here that this is our first location. We're trying to build proper systems. For me personally, I want to be able to remove myself from the day-to-day actions so I can focus on bigger picture growth, team development, and long-term plans. And one of the final pieces to that was sales stuff. So related to that was the one last thing that I was heavily involved in. So for me, in my eyes, to create the proper a business with Madisons, I need to be removed from all of that, and it gets done regardless. So that was a big step, and it's obviously great for Madisons because purely we can do more. We can do way more today than we could a year ago because we have someone dedicated to that position, which is great for everyone. It's great for the business.
Nice. And just a couple more things on marketing I want to do. And something I'm really loving about this conversation is you're looking back at 2024 and you're saying what you're doing now. I think that's so good because you're reflecting and also planning, but it's so good for everyone listening here and kind of learning what worked, what didn't work, and what you can improve on. So yeah, I really want to stick with this format. So the next one I'll go to is like email marketing. Is that something that you did a lot of, or are you doing any more of, or what's your kind of stance on that?
We should be doing it. We haven't been. So organically, that's stepping into 2025 is a big part of what we're doing. So we have a list that we've collected for years and years. We just never really used it. So again, it's one of those things where it falls. There's so many things to do. You can't do everything. Right? Yeah. So I highly value email marketing. I can see it working across so many different industries, and it's like, again, it should be done. We haven't done it. We haven't utilized it. But the only benefit we have is that we have collected information. People chose to opt into our website, etc. So we have got a list there. But we want to lead. Also, if I'm doing that, I want to lead with value. I don't want to just send. We don't want to send salesy emails. I do want to build trust, add value every single week, and then it's just reminding people that we're here. We know our stuff. We are an authority in this space, and if you're local, people they understand when they're ready, Madisons is the place to go. Yeah,
and that's so key in terms of not just being salesy. It's not like trying to get someone to sign up to a membership with every email. It's the same as social media, right? Like building up a relationship. So those emails ideally will come from you or Tyler or Jake personally, and it could be sharing an insight of something that's happened at the gym, a community event, a lesson learned, or just something that's going to engage the reader. And yes, there can be some sort of call to action within it, but not having it as it's like really the email shouldn't be from Madisons, it should be from a person that is being connected there. So is that something you're going to start to ramp up this year, or is it not on the plan so far? Or
no, it's on the plan. Yeah, we're going to weekly. Yeah, we're going to email. So we've been realistic with the other things we have going on. So it will become, from February onwards, become weekly, and again, but leading with good value. And then those things, the benefit there is like we put the effort into creating an email that provides value that can then obviously be broken down into various pieces of content, and a lot of it is with evergreen content for members in mind. So that might produce internal content for members when they first join, but like I said, we're a bit more intentional with that, so we'll go out weekly, but we want it to be high quality.
And that's the smart way to create content, because a big barrier between you creating email marketing was probably the time to do it. But if you create the content first and then place it in the correct medium. So let's say you write an email, you then take the content for that email, and then could that be tweaked into a video script or content for social media, and it could be used in other marketing resources as well. That's a really efficient way to kind of create the content and then place it into those other mediums. And what are the KPIs for email marketing? Like, what are your goals that you want to try and hit consistently this year?
We don't, it will be, like I said, it's more like just do the thing. So send one out every week and then iterate and go. We don't know how, we have no data. So there's like open rates. But what I'll do is we start doing it, and then we see what happens, and we just try and improve it. So the only KPI will send the thing every week and figure it out. And
for those that are listening that aren't sending emails, I highly recommend that, just like Jerome said earlier about organic content, you just get started. Like, try sending at least one a week, because email marketing works so well and it's so underrated. But as I'm reeling off these different types of marketing, organic, paid, email, I'm going to go into referrals and all this sort of stuff, some people might be thinking like, I just haven't got the time to do this. And hopefully people listening can be reassured that, like a business like yours that's doing so well, you're not ticking every box and it's still something you're working towards. What would you say to someone that maybe feels a bit overwhelmed when it comes to the marketing and hasn't got time to do everything? Like, what would you say to that person who thinks they need to be doing everything but feels a little bit overwhelmed? Like, where should their focus go in your opinion?
Yeah, I think going into this with a principle, I think you've got to think of the 80-20 rule with most things. So for anyone that doesn't know, so 20% of your efforts would yield 8% of results. I'm just constantly trying to prioritize. So the bit busier I've got, which compared to some people is nothing. There's people running way bigger organizations with way busier schedules doing much more effective work. So the idea is looking at what is going to yield the best result and constantly just looking at that you can't do everything, but you just got to choose the things that will get you the best result. And that's the same with marketing, trying to improve your product at the gym, trying to improve your team. So it's just dialing in what is the most important thing on this list, what will yield the best result, and just do that thing. If you look across like 4 or 5 different marketing channels, just say you're comparing social media to email marketing to this next thing, what is going to bring you the best, like, bang for buck, basically, your best return on your time and cash, and then go in on that, and then you can just add layers. But equally, also look inwards and reflect on your time management. So because sometimes we can do, if you're more efficient with your time, you could probably do this thing really well and that thing really well, but you could need good systems in place. And sometimes that's as simple as plan your day out, plan your week out, make the most out of every second, stop wasting time, and we can all do way more than we think, but more efficiently as well. So more quality stuff. So it might mean less things, but the right things at a quicker pace and higher quality.
Nice, I love it. Let's dip into referral marketing. So I imagine that every month you get a lot of referrals naturally and organically. Do you have anything in place throughout the year to incentivize referrals as well, or do you leave that as just a kind of word of mouth style system?
We've had different things, not very strong. There's probably people doing it better than us. We do get referrals, and we have had different kind of schemes, campaigns that we run, but it's not as consistent. We probably internally market it as well as we should. So it should probably feature as a almost like its own KPI, and so on a monthly basis, this goes out in every email, or it's tagged at the bottom of like internal emails. But we don't have that. Could be way better. So we get them, occasionally ask for them, but it's ad hoc rather than a regular thing.
Yeah. And what would you, as we kind of segue out of marketing, what would you say like your biggest takeaway from 2024 is that you're bringing into 2025?
I would say there's probably 2 things. The biggest learning for me, and I reflect back and look at how much better I can be, which is probably, and that's not someone that works at a fast pace anyway. So 2 things. One would be cost control, and I think this is not touched on by many people in our industry or business. And so cost control, for the benefit of the members ultimately.
Yeah.
So managing your costs really, really strictly, and obviously depending on someone's upbringing maybe, or their own personal relationship with finances in their maybe like adolescent age and teens, it might reflect in their business. But ultimately managing costs, because if you don't, you're not going to make the progress you should. And it ultimately, it's like I said, it's with the members in mind. If any money is wasted that could otherwise be spent on improving products or the member journey, that is a loss.
Yeah.
Money wasted that could be spent on improving your team, which ultimately would then improve the member experience, is also lost and wasted.
Yeah.
But it's where, if you see any good business that has done well, and I wish I knew what I did today 10 years ago, because we'd be in a completely different position. But anyone that has succeeded in a business, and if you read the books, if you read their biographies and autobiographies, and you learn from those individuals who aren't the business mentors, they are the people that have actually built the things that are way bigger than any of us can comprehend. They always talk about cost control, and they always how they're on it with costs, but not just because they're tight. It's all about improving the customer experience, which I'm very on board with. And unfortunately, it's a lot. It's not taught enough, and not a lot of us speak about it enough. But it's really vital. So that was a big lesson from 2024. And outside of that, it was a constant reminder that we can do things faster and quicker. So those things combined is what I'm taking into 2025. And
nice. And so, in terms of cost control, so I think let's return to that when we get to the client experience, because I want to move from section to section. But I think that's really, really interesting what you've just said. But it obviously affects everywhere because you put money into everything, right? But let's. I'm going to take a note of that down and just pop that in for a little bit later on. So we've kind of covered marketing and the big lessons learned there. Let's touch on sales now. So I believe now you are no longer involved in the sales process when leads come in. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the actual doing, similar to a lot of other activities in the business, I'm not doing the doing, but I'm overseeing, I'm watching, I'm in there providing ideas, providing a direction, instructing on direction, and that's my role with that. So I do not do the discovery calls.
Yeah.
However, I can if I need to. So there's occasional times where I'll see something come in at the weekend on a Sunday. I'm on that. If I see that a message come in, because I have access to the CRM as well, or someone's ready for a phone call, then I'll do it, because
nice.
100%.
So you still got your toes in the water if required, but mostly on the day to day it's Jake that's taking the sales there as well.
Yes, and you got the help, and then the help of Tyler, our manager. So Jake is predominantly that is his role and that's his job. So everything related to sales and actually doing the calls is Jake, but occasionally obviously Tyler helps out as well.
And the process is leads come in, they give them a call and either sign them up or book them into the gym?
Yeah, either or, depending on how the conversation goes. Most of the time it's a phone call straight away, as quick as possible. So someone will get in touch with us and they usually book a call immediately, and then Jake will have a conversation with them. Or alternatively, he will invite them to the gym, but most of the time it's a call.
Nice. And when it comes to metrics, what are Jake's KPIs that he's working towards from a sales perspective? Like, he's got his leads, however many that may be, 60, 100, whatever it is. What's his goals that he's got to hit?
Exactly the numbers that we spoke about, the leads, the trials.
So it's 30% of sales lead to sale, which I think you guys hit last year. Is that correct?
No, it's 20% lead to sale. So lead to trials 30%, lead to sales 20%.
Okay,
and
cool.
We met them.
Nice.
Unfortunately though, because we're low, so we hit the 30 and 20%, but because our leads was actually we only achieved down, everything was down.
Yeah. So it was just that focus from leads is has the trickle down effect of why other metrics weren't hit. But from the sales perspective, Jake actually did his job.
100%.
Yeah,
nice. You nailed it. Yeah, and also so it kind of ends there. The rest of it, similar to what I said regarding sending emails out, we'll just do it and then monitor as we go. When we look at like things like close rates and stuff, a lot of it, because it's a new position, we're saying we just have to start. Let's give it enough data and then we start to iterate on that. So it's like we monitor it, we can watch that data, but realistically it was just those two numbers. So it's kind of how many trials are we getting in and how many how many sales are we getting. But the big one there for Jake was it's just how many trials are coming in.
Yeah.
We take care of the rest after that. But and then I said everything involved in that, with how many texts you're sending, how many emails you're sending, how quickly you're chasing people up, the call close rate. Those are all things we're just like, let's just do it. We'll figure out as we go.
And we'll see what the number is there. So really it's the percentage of conversion rate is the biggest number, and everything else around it can be looked at if that number's not being hit, like you referenced earlier.
Yeah.
I think it looks like Jake's taken a real shine to sales, like his personality. If anyone hasn't listened to the episode where him and Tyler were on, I'd 100% recommend doing it and listen to the episode, because you can just hear their passion come through. Sometimes I'm walking past the office in Madisons and I'll see Jake outside just on the phone pacing up and down, and I can just tell he's like on the phone with prospects and just speaking to them. But when he got into sales, now he's hitting the metrics, which is great. Was there a lag time from him starting the sales to him kind of ramping up to hitting the metrics?
Yeah, because of the way we've done it at the gym, the way that obviously Jake was a coach with us beforehand, and it was a slow transition, which took longer than we planned. I would say he's only really January, like now. So although he's been in the role 6 months, right? It's only this, like right now, this month, where he's actually in that role properly, because there were other commitments before. So coaching commitments, getting dragged into like lots of holidays, staff off. So it was more like a trial period almost. Like just embed slowly and just have dabble with it. But now really this is the only month that we could be truly fair to Jake and say like you're actually allowed to do your job properly now. Because before it's still like dipping your toe into other things, right?
So he was smashing it even when he wasn't 100% kind of in on that solely, which is very impressive actually. So yeah, very, very curious to see how he performs when he's kind of got all of that in front of him, which is going to be very, very interesting to see. You mentioned when we were talking about marketing, there was like a bit of a breakdown with people in roles and positions. Was that what you were just referencing in terms of when he was covering people while doing the sales?
Yeah, because Jake's a coach of ours, right, and he still is. It's like a chicken and egg. You got a gradual growth. We kind of like part of the strategy was to say, right, let's bring coaches in at these stages, so that we could move this person from this role into a new role. Because if we move them over here, we need to fill the gap over here. So we need someone to come in and replace those hours, right? But depending on whether you're bringing an experienced coach in or a junior coach in, there's obviously an onboarding period. So you can't just bring someone in an instant switch. It has to be gradual. So even if you bring the individual in, they're kind of like, you now got to spend 3 to 4 months embedding them into the team. So we're gradually moving. So although the person is physically present in the building and learning the Madison's way, we can't fully utilize them yet. So there's a bit of a cross. So that was all of the end of last year was about that transitional period. And then also we have a part, so Jake does his job and he does it extremely well. He can only do what he can do. So obviously we spoke about organic earlier not being on point. We help with that lead target. The business of Madisons and me are helping Jake out. And obviously if that's not in place, when Jake was transitioning to that position, he's got his role to do, right? So there's certain inputs and KPIs in terms of what he does when those leads come through the door. And a part of it is also generating new ones, right? But the machine of Madisons wasn't operating at 100%. So when we are operating at 100%, the amount that flows down to Jake is a completely different story.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to see now in 2025, because we've got this person able to actually fully embed themselves into their role, plan their week properly, schedule their time properly, manage their time. But also as a business, everything we're doing in the background with organic and social is all kind of helps out and feeds together.
What advice would you give to someone who's a gym owner who maybe wants to offset sales to someone else, whether it's someone that isn't currently in the gym or maybe it is? Like, is there any learning lessons you've had from last year that would be helpful for other people to hear right now?
So I think back to when I think back to maybe someone that is doing it themselves. As the founder, I know you probably are. So first of all, doing it yourself, inside out. You've probably been doing it I assume up until now you have been doing it. So initially you got to get a lot of your stuff out your head onto paper. Luckily, I had someone in the team that was already a coach. They knew Madison's inside out, right? And that sales is always it is a sales role, but obviously this person also is in charge of our growth and community. It's all about it's adding value. And when you speak to someone, all he's doing is trying to guide them through to make sure they get the right thing. And Madison's might not be right for them, right? But I think even the word sales, it always feels a bit odd. However, to go back to the question, it's really hard. It's actually quite hard to answer unless I know someone's situation. But where I was I've done this for a long time. I know I can do it, and when I speak to someone, it's just natural. But it's because I know every single part of the business. I was a coach. I've progressed from there. So selling someone on the phone was super easy, and I really enjoy it, right? Because I know that I'm speaking to someone that actually could really benefit from my help, and I'm going to get them into the gym. But I had to get things out of my head and almost onto paper. I was lucky because in my situation, it was someone that was already on our team. Bringing someone new in would have been completely different, but I have no experience with that.
I love the way you framed his role, where what his job is to guide someone from here to kind of the other section if it's right for them, because that kind of principle or value kind of translates through every job role he has, whether it's speaking to a prospect to trialist or trialist to member. He's just guiding them from one point to the other. And, you know, someone at the start, it requires a phone call, and then someone who's at the trial, it requires different elements there. But basically, like, his core job is just to guide that person right from one step to the next. If it's not right for them, it's not right, but he's going to guide all the right people there. So I really, really like how you frame that. So we've kind of touched on sales, and that's kind of the box ticked in terms of the sales department is kind of where it needs to be and hitting the right metric. Something I also picked up from what you said is you track lead to trial and lead to sale. So like you do the trial separately, where a lot of people might just put lead to sale. Why is it you do that, out of curiosity?
30% of leads end up in a trial, right?
Yeah.
So what happens if we improve our organic content and our messaging is stronger? So when we talk from the Madisons brand, it's very clear like who we're for. We showcase results better. So that might actually change, that might go to 40% or 45% or 50%. So we want to know how many people move from a lead into a trial. And then from there, it's always been we always look at our conversion rate from trial into sale. But it's just again, I track tons of numbers, so it's one of those things that just stands out to me. I just see out of those leads, how many actually end up in a sale.
How many actually go into a regular back-end membership, which I think is like a really important metric, like from lead to long-term member, because then you can actually look at how much you're paying for those leads versus the kind of lifetime value of those customers and really have the full picture of the data. So it kind of keeps it separate but clear at the same time. Now, with the front-end offer that people sign up to, how much roughly do people initially pay when they sign up over the phone?
30-day trial, $250.
Okay, nice. And I've seen that you've done a number of different trials, just different offers for the front end. It could be a 30-day, an 8-week, and I imagine that's all part of your testing process. Do you know which ones have served you best in terms of volume of trials, but also in the like kind of conversion rate of that trial as well? Is the 30-day still the winner in your book, or are there other things that work? Or
based on the test, we typically over the years, the most prominent trial has always been a 30-day trial, and the price point. So it's a 30-day trial, a paid 30-day trial. We have dabbled with other things, but that's pretty our staple. And then in terms of price point, we found in our market where we are, keeping it relatively close to the actual cost of the membership going forward has been a winner.
Yep.
When we go too low, we have at the end of the trial, people are expecting it to be as like close to the trial price.
Yeah.
So we are willing to test other things. However, we found those two important things. So 30-day trial is our staple, and keeping that trial price relatively close, within £20 to £40 of the actual price, has worked well for us.
Yeah.
When we go too low, it doesn't work well.
And you've done that in the past where you've gone too low, maybe like 50% off or something, but just to get them through the door to experience it. But then when it comes to the membership, it's just way out of their kind of price range, essentially.
Exactly. Which is understand with some trials, that's often what you're trying to do, right? You say, right, here's a trial price, and it's a hugely discounted, and people are just trying that thing. You see it with online space. However, what we have found is actually it works against us. So keeping it closer. The only time we do something of really good value is when we add extra time. So just say like coming up to Christmas, it might be like, here's a 30-day trial, sign up before this date and you get extra time. So obviously if you broke it down, it is obviously a cheaper trial, but we are adding time on. But we've been tactical about why we're doing that at that time of the year, where there might be a bit of friction because of the time of the year, and actually we just reduce the barrier down, and it's almost too good to say no. So we've trialed with those things as well. Yeah.
So if you're going to give a deal, it should be added on to the service rather than taken away from the price, is what you're saying.
We don't want to devalue what we're doing, and we don't think we should. But there's sometimes times where it just could tip someone, like kind of get that person over the line. Especially, like I said, at the time like Christmas, where people just I'll wait till January. Yeah. So we have played around with that sort of thing around that time of the year. We could probably test more frequently, but we played it safe. 30-day trial, we know it works. We do that, but we have manipulated the price over time. I know some people have really good success with 6-week challenges and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think it's super important because you've gone out and tested. Now you can see what works well for you. Because some people love a 6-week front end offer. Others it might be a 30-day. There's no one size fits all for every single gym across the UK or the world. Like you've got to find the offer that works well for you. And ultimately, the determining factor of what that offer is going to be the numbers of, conversion rate and how many members you actually have on the back end. So that's what you really should be looking out for. So in terms of the front end offer to back end conversion rate, what was it you were aiming for? It was it 66%?
So yeah, we ended the year last year at 60% trial conversion.
Nice.
So that's across the year, and that's across both, just an average across the business. I would like that closer to 70, but also you see changes when you increase pricing, when it depends. So
yeah,
so we average was like 61% for the year.
And that's really great. And you noticed that a difference when you increase pricing. So is it when you did a price increase, you noticed a decrease in the conversion rate?
We haven't done it enough to notice more.
Okay.
More what I mean by that is like we might be happy with. So as it stands, based on it's all depend. If I look at the next few months ahead, what do we want to grow by, and will that number get us there? So for example, I might be happy with, depending on what we're charging, there might be a day where I'm actually happy with 50% conversion, because the price point we charge and what we want at the end of it, that is work for whatever reason, that I'm content with that.
Yeah.
Others, it might have been in the past 75, 80% of what we're looking for. At the top, if I look back now, we might have been charging too little back then to convert with that. So it kind of all depends, but what we do, we monitor it and we want to always improve it. As long as we're getting people through at the kind of prices we want them to be at, etc., etc.
And so you said that you're at 60, which you're happy with. You'd like it to be at 70. Do you have any plans or thoughts in place of what you're going to do in 2025 to up that? I know it doesn't matter. I know you said that some months it doesn't actually matter if it's 50, because as long as it hits a certain number that gets a certain outcome, that's fine. But is there anything you're actively doing or lessons you've learned from 2024 that you're going to bring into 2025 to look to improve that number?
Yeah. So delivery is just quality of the first 30 to 60 days. So we're toying with the idea of different type of trial. So finding different length of time. But so as it stands, with all things considered, we want to improve that number. So 60, I would not be happy with that going backwards. We want to improve it. We want it closer to 70 based on all the things. The only reason I would be happy with it going back is just say all of a sudden our pricing across the board for new members has changed. So we might be prepared for the next 2 or 3. Actually, if we're getting people on a trial, it's a new trial rate and it's a new membership rate, we might have to accept that drops from 60 to 50. That's what I'm saying there. But as it stands, based on all things considered, that should be closer to 70, and we can make little changes to improve it. Number one will be purely the experience in the first 30 to 90 days. A lot of that comes from just what we do in general. So by improving the full member experience and what we do on a daily basis, the quality of the sessions from the trainers, the quality of the support outside of sessions, trialists will feel that. They'll feel that the quality will just be overall has improved for regulars, and they will experience that as well, and therefore their experience is better. There are some little things we can do for someone's the first 30 to 60 days to kind of deliver more value for a new person, and that's what we're going to focus on. There's tons of different things, but if we do that, I'm sure that number will increase. Yeah.
Are there any things that come to mind that you didn't have in place and then you implemented and you saw like a good increase at all? Or is it a lot of small things that you put in place? Or are there any noticeable things that, when implemented, really improved the flow of people going through that trial?
From trial to membership?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think talk for me, I just class it as like talk time. The more we talk, we need to. This is a personal training service, and even if people move into large group, it's a personal, very personal service. So the more we talk to people, in person or on the phone, the better. We want to understand truly, are they getting what they want from the membership?
Yeah.
Are we delivering our part of the deal? Have we missed, like they might have started with that quite a vague goal, but now they're training, they're a month in, 2 months in, they're a bit more clear on what they want to achieve. Have we really dialed in, or are we helping them? We can always improve, and I think with a personal training model, sometimes you can sit with small groups training specifically, is almost sit back and let members, even if you have some sort of check-in process or cohort, let people come to you. And I think it's a constant thing we're trying to battle and work against with, like, how do we, I know there are people in this membership that need more support, but they're not reaching out.
Yeah,
it's on us. How do we really get that out of them? It might not be a fat loss goal. There might be, but there is something. How can we deliver more for that person? So it's just fine. In the first 30 to 60 days, to answer the question, it's basically how do we speak to that individual to make sure they're getting what they want, but also how do we go over and above to deliver more than they expect?
And so it sounds like more touch points, like in genuine communication from the team to the person going through the trial, and also more personalisation in terms of really finding out what that person wants to get out of their health and fitness.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. And is it just Jake and Tyler that just look after that group of people? Is it all of a team, or?
No, in the first it's Tyler mostly for people in their first part of the journey.
Yeah.
Ongoing is different, but like for trialists, that is pretty much Tyler with the majority of people there.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with everything that you've said, and like a slightly less human way to look at that trial period. I know you said it's all about connection, and you are 100% right, but if you were to look at it as in a less human way, the person coming into a trial is a customer, but they're also still technically like in a sales pipeline.
Yeah.
They're still going along that flow. They're not officially, they're not 100% on board yet. And I remember I was speaking to someone at a sales workshop, and they're like, how do we improve our front end to back end? And we were like, well, what are your touch points? And they're like, oh, well, we arrange a meeting at week 4. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what else do you do? And I was like, well, they come and do the sessions. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So like they sign up, and for a whole month, you're not actually speaking to those individuals or checking in or see how it's going. Obviously they're coming in, but it's like imagine if you had a lead opt-in and you just left that person for 4 weeks and then reached out. Like how successful are you going to be at converting people that you haven't had any communication with outside of that core service after 4 weeks? And it's like, well, none really, because it's just been so long. So it's like almost looking at that trial period as like steps of a pipeline, right? Like, have they got their first session in? Once they've done their first session, have they been? Because I remember when I went through the process with you, I believe I got a WhatsApp, I got a phone call, like asking how the session was, and I had all these touch points like along the way. What do you think about that sort of thought process for it?
Yeah, 100%. We could always do better. We haven't got any of this down. Like there's so much to improve. So I never whenever I'm talking to you right now, it's for people to think that we have everything nailed, and hopefully it can come across like that.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things we can improve, and that's all we do. We constantly look at how do we make this better. As it stands, I think the way to look at that trial period is, imagine if you had your mum or your brother join the gym or someone else's gym, and they were truly coming in to kind of get a result. They were joining for a reason, right? They have no idea how it runs. The first time they visited, they've joined this big scary place for 30 to 60 days, but they know nothing, very new to exercise. Surely you wouldn't just wait 4 weeks or 6 weeks to see how they've got on. Like, you would want to just check in with them, make sure they know everything, give them lots of information up front, make sure they know where everything is, who to contact if they need support. And then as they're going through that process, how are they getting on? Are they enjoying it? Did they like that session yesterday, etc., etc.? How are they feeling physically? Like, so you would surely, for someone to get the best possible experience with you, you need to have all those touch points, and they are obviously beneficial to business because it will increase your chance of them staying. But you're just doing a good job. Like, if someone is new to fitness, they should have all those touch points, because you want to check, like, are they all sweet? And we've missed, and it's, you need systems in place to help you, because as you scale and grow, you can't just do this based on memory. So you need systems as a business to make sure you can check these boxes. Some of it will be automation, and that automation could either help you send the message, or it just reminds you to have the conversation. So sometimes automation might just be internal and just reminding us, have a chat with that individual, because you can't remember everything.
Yeah.
And it's in everyone's interest, both yours and the members, to have automation. Otherwise you'll miss things and it's chaos. But sometimes automation can be a really well-written message to just check on the member, and it is just automated, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a response from them, and then you take over.
Yeah.
But automation is really key, but just doing the thing is super important. When you're first starting out, if someone's listening to this and they're on their own, or with one other person, systems is lovely, great, but you can do a lot with that before that point. Just do it and figure it out as you go. But like I'm saying, we have got systems and we have got things in place, but it can all be improved, and we will improve it.
Yeah, and again, there's no like right or wrong answer, right? Everyone's got the process they have that ultimately gets the outcome that they're looking for, which can be determined in the data. But if you are sitting here and thinking, what can I do to improve this? At our most recent mastermind in Leeds, we had a speaker called Jeff Ram, and his talk is on celebrity service. And essentially the message is, imagine if like the biggest celebrity in the world, like Cristiano Ronaldo, phoned up the gym and said, like, hey, could I come for a session? Could I come and drop in for a session? How would you treat him versus the standard service that you have? Like, what would you do differently to give that celebrity service? And whatever it is you can think of, all those small touches, oftentimes that's the gap that you're missing within your regular service and how you should be treating people. So like, I really, really like that analogy, because you start thinking about all the different things you do if this person would come in and how much extra care you take of them, and actually take that principle and apply that to all your customers, and you're going to have like really great success when it comes to giving them that wow factor.
And then I guess you also need that as an mean average. So it's all well and good doing that as you as the owner, but how can you make that the mean average across your team?
Yeah.
So that's a good way of look, and that's because you're only great as you're you can't have one person do that and welcome the members in a certain way. And as your team gets bigger, like any business, especially when you're in the service industry and you're delivering a service, you want consistency and the same high level of quality across the board. So that's just that is a different level when you're at multiple people versus just one or two. Or that's all well and good if you're doing that, but obviously how do you build standards and expectations so that is just the standard across the team?
This is something I wanted to ask you actually, because like where you've got all these conversion rates coming in, like the front end to back end, is it harder to achieve that level of, because like if you've got 50 members and you get 10 front end offers in, front end trialists in, to achieve 80-90% of conversions, it's probably quite easily doable, right? Because you've got less people to look after, and you can give those people the care. But at 325 recurring members, and then another 70 odd people on trial and packages, and then you've got this larger team. Is it more difficult to achieve a higher conversion rate you found because you've got to replicate all of that service through these people and systems, or is it easier as time goes on? What have you found?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's actually, but I think in our instance, I believe it should be better. And the reason it should be better is because I've done this for a longer period of time. We've got more people we've got more great people in the business to help us build a better product. So like, you can only do so much when you're small. And obviously, yes, when you have less people, you can potentially give them more of your personal time as the founder, and you're ultimately going to be the life of that place, right? You give it all because your reputation's on the line, right? And your name's above the door. But once you start building it, like I think there's a point where actually no, we can deliver a much higher standard consistently with a much bigger team and a much bigger business now, because we also have people in specific roles that we couldn't have before. So we have people that allow to have time outside of sessions solely to concentrate on members. For example, Tyler, our club manager, is completely off the floor. He's in a position that we could not have before. Yeah. So I would say we should continue to get better as the team gets bigger, even though, because it's kind of relative as well. But I do understand what you're saying. What you do lack is if you have got a club of 50 people, you'll see everyone all of the time. And if you have you and one other coach, or it's one coach leading that, you know everybody and you see them all the time. With us now, the size of the team's bigger. Members might see a specific coach less frequently than before. So there is a relationship. There's something different.
It's like basically being able to hit all of those numbers without them ever potentially seeing your face, I think is like the main difference, right? Because as you said, like if you're the one coaching, and I know you're in Madisons and Minka every day, right? It's not like you're out of the business, but someone could go through your whole process from start to finish and not actually say hello to you. Now, I'm sure you know all the members have said and know them all, but that's where you are now, which I think is the challenge. Is what I'm kind of getting at, where it's like having the system rather than you as the individual manage all of those markers, which I think is very, very impressive.
Yeah, 100%. No, you're bang on. It's forcing yourself, and that's actually the reason in the last few months I've intentionally spent more time away from the business, physically working from an office away from here. It forces you to have to create systems. It forces you to build a team and set a certain standard and expectation so that you can be away. I could be out of the country for a month.
Yeah.
The last piece of the puzzle was the sales piece. It's been a long journey for the last 12 to 18 months to intentionally bring people into certain positions. Day to day, that team, both businesses, Minka and Madison, have day to day got it. I know there's a certain quality delivered, but now what's different than where I was a year ago is people can start the gym, leave the gym, have a great service, everything in between. Program gets launched for the new coaches. We're on top. Everything gets delivered. Team meetings without me being present. That's been a big switch. I'm only there like now.
So even the team communication actually now happens without you there.
Yeah, it's actually quite fun. I see things happening, being launched, events being obviously again I'm involved in some conversations at the start. Right, for example, X amount of months ago, I'm involved in a conversation to say, Here's where we're going with events. Here's what I'd like to see personally. But we want to intentionally let people do their thing.
And so, there's a few questions I have. So I think I'll start with the first one before I forget. Do you think that's quite a good exercise to do? To be like, I'm going to go away from my business and see how it works, because then you can really expose areas that maybe aren't performing because they're maybe relying on you. You can really stress test for systems, essentially.
Yeah, you might need to start small. So you might need to going up, depending on what situation you're in, going physically abroad. A different might be. The first best step would be to stay at home, or go to a different postcode, work from a coffee shop, do the thing. Basically, stay away. It will show you what happens here, or what if I am away for a week, because whatever goes wrong, or the things that haven't or are clunky, you fix them. And it's been a gradual process, but I intentionally I've always loved to travel. It's always been like a week holiday or 2 weeks holiday, just because that kind of works for me. But I would like to be in a position where I could be away for a month. I could be physically not present for a month to 2 months, but it's taken intentional effort the last few years to get to that point where I could do that. So, and that for me is a massive win. The last few years, above all the other benefits and growth, one of the big things for me intentionally was to be physically. I don't need to be there. We could grow as a gym. We have team meetings. We have the program gets launched. All those things I said, without me physically present.
And I think that's when you know you are actually, like, I would say, legitimate business owner, because you own a thing that's working without yourself, and with you, like, you not being there doesn't make a difference to the service and the outcomes that you're looking for. Because so many people, right, they may run like a well-oiled machine, but a lot of the systems rely on them being in that business, and if you take them out, then things are going to take a dip. So that's really potentially, like, if that was you, that could be a long-term weakness, right? If you're in a position where every time you took a holiday or you went away, things started to dip, that's not a great position to be in.
100%. Or seeing standards, like the guys, like I said, when I walk in the day, you see everything getting done correct, like the places, all the little details to make sure that service is on point, the way the gym is kept, well kept. The team, I don't have to encourage them to book a day to deep clean the gym. It's all done. They're doing it. These are all standards and expectations that were set, and then they're driven by Tyler. But they are just. It's just that when you're part of a team or a business, that is just the standard. So the benefit there is that is not for me to take. So I love doing this and I want to grow. So for me, that time, I'm just buying myself time back. So when I'm talking about being out of the country for a month to 6 weeks, it forces me to build a bit of business in the first place. Yeah. Number two, when I'm there for that 4 to 6 weeks, I am dialed in, focused, and not distracted. Yeah. Right. So that it starts from that, or from whether it's a week or 2 weeks, I'm changing my environment so I can focus more.
Yeah. It's by no means you are trying to escape the business or anything like that. But it's actually in the business's benefit that you are able to go away and for it to run functionally.
100%. It benefits the member. It's going, the work that is produced off the back of that will make a better experience for the members, because we're going to make improvements to the products, better experience for the team. Again, we're going to improve how we kind of either potentially develop them or just make life at Madison's better. And then three, it creates a better business, because if we do those things correctly, the business will operate better, potentially be more profitable, which is again beneficial for everyone. So it's like a big. So the idea is, I'm just getting myself time back. We potentially could have grown Madison's quicker if in the first couple of years, if I did this differently, but the long-term benefit would be worse, because I could maybe just say save cost and be more involved. Yeah. And it would be beneficial initially, but then there'd be a plateau and I'm stuck in there. Yeah. Whereas it was an intentional effort to get the right team in place, and then it allows exponential, it can allow this proper growth, because I'm not involved in that, but I can work on the bigger things, decision making. Like,
so you went all in investing kind of like on the team, in the systems, for you not to be kind of stuck in the business, and now you can like properly work on it basically every single day.
Yeah, and it benefits me spending a day of coaching, although I might love it. That's just one example of lots of things that I should not be involved in, even though I might enjoy it. Just like being away from the office, I like to go in and spend a certain amount of time there, because be around the team and there's conversations to be had.
Yeah, and it is tiring as well. Like if you imagine you do like a couple of sessions and then you've got to go and create some marketing. Like a lot of your energy has just been taken from giving that energy in the session. So then to go and be really creative is probably harder when you've just done 2 hours worth of coaching, right? But now you can just wake up fresh and just go in on like the kind of highest value tasks that are going to benefit the business.
Yeah, so go back to the 80-20 rules. Like, where's my value? Where is the most amount of value? What are the tasks? And I look at my every week, every day. It's like, what are the most important things I should be doing that bring the best return? And it starts being clear. I know every week, every month what is progress. What is progress this week? What is progress today? what is progress this month, and I'm just that's how I prioritize my time. But it goes back, like there are so many things in my week. It's a behavior, it's a discipline to like say, just be like, I don't get involved in those things, and I need to be, and it's constant. That muscle gets worked a lot.
Yeah,
I get, because sometimes I'm like, oh, what, today I shouldn't have been there for that 2 hours.
This is what I wanted to ask you, because you said that you sometimes see maybe a community event pop up and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Or you see something happening and you're like, you haven't been involved in that, but it is just happening. Is there part of you where you find that quite difficult at all? Obviously, you've worked on this business for many years intensely, and it's like your baby. But then also to be able, like, stepping back is really beneficial. Was it hard at the start to do that, because obviously the amount of effort you put into it?
Yeah, I think I'm not really no, at the moment it's all positive. So I think that when I see things, it's more like, so an example would be, I'm very aware of what events we're planning. So for example, I know what's coming up.
Yeah.
What I love to see and what's really cool is I come in one day and the team, it was an idea, and now I see like how much preparation has gone to, like this idea is actually happening.
It's all coming to fruition without you having to be hands-on, without you having to be involved.
Yeah, and then seeing like great people, just let them do their thing. It's great for them. It's a great opportunity to learn and grow themselves, because they're able to actually like, take that responsibility and do it. Yeah. But also fun for me to see like look what happens when you just let people do their thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess where I was going with that, because some people might struggle to kind of relinquish control, right, because they want to be involved in everything else. But it sounds like you've actually found that like quite a positive thing to do, and haven't found any challenge in actually delegating those things to other people and just let it happen.
Yeah, and I think that's probably because I think if we break it down, the people that are doing the thing that I've kind of let go and let someone do, that individual that is doing that is someone that we intentionally chose to have in the business. We were very clear that, so the standards are also very clear. So first of all, we know that person's right. That person also understands what we expect at Madisons. So I can probably, if that wasn't the case though, I might have more of a problem letting things go, because the standard isn't clear.
Yeah.
And therefore, like for example, we have a certain expectation, and the guys know when we do something, we want to do it to a certain standard. These are the types of people we have at the gym. They know the membership audience. So I know it's going to be the right thing. They're going to do the right job because they understand what we're trying to do at Madisons. Whereas if that was the wrong person and the standards weren't clear and the expectations weren't clear, that might be a complete shambles.
Yeah. So before you can delegate, the standards need to be clearly set. The person needs to be aware of those standards and they need to be adhering to them. And then you can go, right, I can let this go now because I know that it's all been clearly set. So it's all on you to be able to step back, because it's kind of your responsibility to actually set those standards in the first place.
Yeah, I think if you've got I think you've got to look. Yeah, it's all on you, and it will always be the case. You've got to look. If you're choosing to run a business, you have to have a big set shoulder. You're going to have to take responsibility for everything. If it's not going your way, unfortunately, you've got to look inwards and say, did I set the standard? Was I clear enough? Probably not.
Yeah.
And I look back to where I was 10 years ago. And we didn't do what we should have. What we do now for our coaches compared to where we were then is completely different. We didn't. So that was on me. But I've come a long way as a business owner. And
yeah.
I'll look back in a year and think, like, Christ, I've come a long way. So, and that's because I want to chase growth. But I think you do need to look inwards, reflect on your own. If things aren't getting done a certain way, have you been clear? Is the standard clear? Because if not, then you've got to change it, right?
Yeah, well, I hear so many times where gym owners go, oh, you just can't find the right staff. The staff are terrible. They churn out. But again, like maybe with some of those individuals, it's like, could you look internally? Like, have you actually clearly set the standards and showed how to adhere to those standards? And a lot of the time where someone might say like, look, I want you to start doing sales, watch this video and off you go. Like, have they given enough time? Have they set what the standards should be? Have they done this or coaching, right? So maybe that's actually like a reason why people say, oh, you just can't get the staff. It's because of the business owner rather than the actual staff member themselves.
100%. Look at any good business out there that is known for, so any business that is great, it could be either because of the way that they've created something exciting and they clearly look after the people. They're not struggling for recruitment. People want to work there. Like they're a good company set up correctly. They're aspiring to be a part of, and it's something you just got to unfortunately take. Like you just got to be big enough to accept that maybe you're not good enough at the moment, but use that fuel to get better. So is your company or brand aspirate? Do people actually want to work there? And are you attracting the type of person that you want? Because it's easy for an owner to say, "Oh, we haven't got A players," or "No A players." But are you attracting that type of character?
Yeah.
Or is there a mismatch? Like, is your company here and you want people like this to join? They don't want to join a business like yours, and it's like, in a harsh truth, you kind of just keep looking inwards. But all you can do is accept that, and work on making it better. But you do need to. I think you just sort of take responsibility. Everything's ultimately your fault. Fix it.
Yeah,
it is your business.
Yeah, which is kind of like a harsh reality, but also it's the reality that gives you control to be able to fix it. Because if you place it on that staff member, that situation, then it's all out of your control, right?
Exactly.
And in terms of team members and staff, so how many staff members do you have now?
11 at Madison, 11 staff, not including myself at Madisons. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you've got a big team, and you took on a number of new members last year. What I really love is that there's some, and I think this is testament to the systems that you have in place, is that there was one person that trained me, and she was not qualified for long at all, but I had no idea that I think it was like a month or two that she was qualified for. And it was only when I got into conversation that I found that out. But before that, I thought it would have been like a few years or something like that. But it's because like the consistency of the product is the same regardless of who I speak to. So I think that's really, really impressive. How have you been able to get to like that level where you've got someone that's literally been qualified as a PT for 2 months delivering, like a 5-star service?
Yeah, I mean, I think so one of the things that matters, we have that is a intentional strategy, but we have got, for the next 3 to 5 years, we know that we bring juniors into the team, and that's what we've done in the last 4 or 5 occasions, completely fresh. So either come straight out of uni, got qualified, or career, like they are a junior and fresh trainer. We just put so much time and effort into developing that person. So it's constantly evolving, but ultimately it's time and effort into that individual to develop them personally. Now, there are some things we do like generic to just understand that a coach will get there, a certain amount of shadowing, a certain amount of observing a session, taking part in sessions and delivering them. But there's a lot of us observing them and giving lots of personal feedback. But ultimately, it's just time invested into that person. Rewind again 5 to 10 years ago, we did not have the same systems and mentoring that we do now. But it was going back to the conversation about me being not present. We built the systems to make sure that I'm not involved in that. I used to be on the gym floor next to people. I could spend time with them personally. And then it got to a stage where that wasn't the case, but we didn't have the systems in place to develop people. Now we invest a lot of time and money in developing our people. So when they join, we have the benefit of our head coach, Vincent, mentoring that person, as well as the others in the team. So it's not just him.
Because, I've seen other team members, and it looks like they're shadowing as well, because they're not delivering a session, but they are observing is what I've seen. So is it just more senior coaches that will shadow the more junior coaches?
Yes. So we have a combination. So we have a couple of, so just say we have a couple of coaches that have been with us over a year. They are incredible at what they do, and they have great value to kind of teach down. So if we have a new junior coach and they are delivering, just say they're in personal training or they're delivering a large group session, we will have, it's not just Vince, our head coach, who will observe that session. We might have a certain time where a junior coach is being observed by a more senior coach with only a year to year and a half experience, and then they'll give direct feedback. So we have some processes and systems that we follow that they'll look out for. So when they're observing a session, it's not just you're not just looking into a room and giving your own opinion. We have got something that exists where people are monitoring certain aspects of that session. So there are certain things that we want them to look out for, and then score them at the end. So it just helps both individuals also feel like you're not under attack, because what we basically say, like you hold the iPad when you're observing.
Yeah.
So when you're observing, there's purpose behind it, which is valuable, we feel, for both people. The person observing, I think it feels good, because they're able to depart some of their knowledge and wisdom onto the other individual and actually be helpful in a constructive way. But also, that person that's being observed will have an opportunity to flip that around sometimes. We might get them to observe our head coach for a session. It's you feel like less under attack.
That's probably quite a good way to learn as well, to shadow someone that's doing well and be like, okay, this is what I thought was really good, and then you can kind of have those open conversations, right? And just like review someone's performance that is good versus like just reviewing someone's performance that needs to improve.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also looking for, you get to a point where it's marginal gain. So a coach delivers, in our small group setting, a full session for them. They might deliver a really, really good session. But you look across the day, there's going to be little elements you could just refine. 1%, like 1%. So they're delivering at the Madison Standard. But we want to just refine their coaching skill and just keep getting better. But someone as a junior, when you observe another coach's session, just say with someone more senior than you, the reason we want them to look out for certain things is it gives them otherwise you're just watching a session when you don't know what you don't know, right? So if someone's junior and they're watching, just say, a coach of 10 years experience, they'll kind of see it working, but I'm not sure they can figure out exactly why.
Yeah.
So we want to help. We feel to improve their development, let's help them. Let's tell them what to look for.
Yeah.
In certain situations, right? Because I saw what happened.
When you start to identify,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then we feel that has helped people get to. So just be clear on what makes a session good. So I'll go back to the original question: how do we get them there that quickly? We are clear on like what makes a session a Madison Standard session. Work backwards from that, and then teach those things.
Yeah, because it kind of has the and you probably don't want this this type of service like put next to Madison's, but it's almost like if you go to McDonald's, doesn't matter which one you go to, like it's the same product that you get every single time, and that's the same when I go to Madison's. Doesn't matter what the coach is, the product feels exactly the same within quality. Now, obviously, like you've got one premium product and one less, but just to give that analogy of the consistency that you've been able to achieve, and that's because it's as you said, like the Madison Standard versus it's not the coach's kind of time to shine and be, show out his knowledge. They're following your process versus the other way around.
Yeah, we want to teach exactly, and it should feel. We want a consistent quality across the board. So when you come in as a member, there's a certain. It should just feel a certain standard every single time, and that's why we push the guys to meet the Madison Standard. It's like as a baseline, it's what you would need to achieve. Where people can then start to excel is more like around the edges where there's more special case. So someone's obviously injured or potential like a more specialty related goal. Then those trainers can go off piece and really excel in those areas. But typically, most people come into it's like here's a Madison Standard. You have to deliver that, whether they're delivering 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, whatever it might be. But there's like here's the expectation, and we're just constantly looking at that. I take part in sessions as well. So obviously I'm in the sessions with the guys, and then we have a certain target to hit each week with observations. So we don't just leave it. Sessions are getting observed every single week.
Yeah. And in terms of like the, let's say, organizational structure, so because you're not hands-on managing each person, so it's you, and then can you run through what that organizational structure looks like and who you're more hands-on with versus other team members?
Yeah, so you've got so it's me oversee a lot of time with, obviously I've got my club manager Tyler, who directly reports into me. We spend a lot of time with each other, speaking to each other, and then Tyler is obviously ultimately in charge of the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Within our team, we have our 8 coaches and then 3 staff that are off the floor.
Yeah.
2 of which can be on the floor if needed, Jake and Tyler. And that team has set us up nicely for the rest of the year. But it's ultimately me closely working with Tyler because of the club manager role, closely working with Jake because of the sales role, and that's kind of the only 2 people I really spend a lot of time with in terms of like reporting and KPIs and managing. Then we've got the head coach. But all those names, all the staff members fall on Tyler. Tyler is the manager, so Tyler manages all those individuals. That's it.
What's the cadence you have with him? Is it just sporadic conversation? Is it structured? There
structured weekly meeting. So both weekly for any So what you could call it a senior management leadership meeting with the team there. So myself and club manager, myself sales manager, we will meet weekly.
Okay.
It has to be every week, and then obviously there's lots of conversations around that throughout the week. If there's a period of time where we need to meet more frequently than that, we just increase it.
Yeah, and throughout this, like, because you've recruited quite heavily last year, there's been some people that have been like phenomenal team members and are shining. There's others that, although like really good people and great people, may not have been the best fit, and maybe vice versa as well. So it'd be really interesting to get your take on what the process is when you do have someone that later on down the line, maybe it's just not working as well as it should be, like what the process is and like how your thoughts on that overall situation.
Yeah, so I think over time, the easiest way to answer that, over time, we are more clear, that we have never been more clear as to who is right for the business. So ultimately, again, when you're clear about what you stand for, what you're about, the goal of the business, and who you want in your team, you are less likely to make mistakes on the way in, right? ultimately, if you're not clear and it's not clear, you may bring in people in the team and it's not the right fit. So you're not right for them and they're not right for you, right?
Yeah.
And that will create problems. No one wants that. You do not want someone in the business and they don't truly want to be there. They're not bought into the mission. They don't really care like you want them to care. And also equally, you might not be doing enough. Therefore, also you're not ticking the boxes for them. They don't want to be in this environment. You can't necessarily change that, right? So it's going to be a square peg round hole situation, right? So we start, I think, being really clear about what you're about, attracting the right people in the first place, and then being really strict with who comes in. Unless it's 100% yes, don't bring them in.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, it's not going to benefit either of you.
Yeah.
Looking back, we've probably made those mistakes. So first of all, not been clear enough on who comes through the door. Potentially at times, it's not been 100% yes. And then when we have had people come in who may have been great for the business, at that time, we probably weren't doing enough for them. So like now we have a great setup for coaches and development.
Yeah.
And as a business, we're more mature. So we can do way more for our team. We can look after them better. We have a better environment. Whereas I rewind a few years ago, we may have actually had a great egg come through, great for the business, bought in everything, but maybe we didn't deliver. Because we didn't have the systems we have now. Yeah. So it could have been completely different. If we did have what we had now, that could have evolved totally different.
I think that's really great to be able to, again, like look in and see like what was it that we didn't do well enough to be able to accommodate that person, but also being able to see other people that may have not been a good fit there as well. When you do have a situation of someone's not a good fit, like was it, because some, like, I always hear people say like, oh, I've got this person, we need to have an conversation, and then 3 months later they haven't had the conversation and they're just like longing it out and they're doing it because they don't want to have those tough conversations. Are you quite swift with the decision making process, or do you find a similar discomfort in that type of situation?
Yeah, it's never going to be. I think I'm fine with the. I think you got, as long as you're being fair, it's coming from a kind place. Be kind, be fair, you can be firm. So I think, but nip it in the bud. You never want something to go on longer than it should. And obviously, I'm not perfect. I've got this wrong many a times where you just leave something too long. But I don't think it ever ends well. You need to, if you see a problem, tackle it straight away. Tackle it as soon as possible, especially with people, because it will cause we don't want it in a team. And this might not be the same in every industry, but in fitness and in what I've experienced with personal training gyms, is it's very much like a sport. Like the team is everything. It is like a sports team. You need people like they've got each other's back. They're all singing off the same hymn sheet. They all want the same thing. Yeah. They all want to win, and you need a consistent. The one wrong person will ruin all of that. Yeah, and it's in both your interests to move them on.
Yeah, and especially if you've got a team of 10 people, and then you've got one person that is unhappy, and you don't address that situation. If that person stays there, they could then kind of translate, let's say, their energy or their unhappiness to maybe other members of the team, and then you might have a situation. And I'm not saying this happened for you, but this is just fear, like what may happen if you don't address it. Then you might have like a splintered section of the team that might be gossiping about certain stuff, or just like not very happy, and it just doesn't create a good vibe like throughout the whole team. So you need to kind of really, I 100% agree. Like if you don't have someone that's a good fit, it needs to be a conversation swiftly rather than kind of longing that process out, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it will happen. I mean, even if you do, ideally you'd like to think if you're very clear on the way in, so you're very specific about who joins the team, and then you're doing a lot for that team, and you are a growing business who is doing all the things. You are creating a nice environment, you're delivering on CPD, you are rewarding people as they should. Hopefully, like most of the time, that's going to be sweet because, like I said, that you've got the right person in the right seat and you're delivering your part of the bargain, right? It should feel a great place to be. So, but occasionally maybe that goes wrong, and then you've got to be quick with it. So if it isn't right, like I said, it's in both your interests. Let's just like figure this out. But I definitely think if you spot something that's slightly wrong and you know in your gut you're probably right, just fix it. But yeah, so. I think but you do need to sort those things out properly. You do not want that will get worse otherwise.
Yeah, and there might be some people listening that have 1, 2 staff members, and they might not think they're very good at managing or at leadership, but it's just because it's the first set of staff members that they've ever had. And I'm sure that you've been doing this for over 10 years. 10 years, yeah. So I'm sure that when you first hired staff, you've probably made all of the mistakes anyone could ever make, and where you are now with the team and how strong they are, it's all just lessons that you've learned over the years.
100%. I was 20. So when I had teams members from I'm 21, I'm 32 now, right? for doing it from 18, but properly from 2021, staff members at 22. You've got a team of people at 22, 23, like multiple people in your team. I'm still growing as a coach at that time, so I was still developing as a trainer, still growing as a human being. So like now you got to learn how to manage. Like it's so much to learn, right? But I think the good thing is to say, like I said, just look inwards and keep taking responsibility. You can grow and get better at everything. You can make improvements with everything. So just because there probably are some young gym owners around, they do need to take ownership, saying, right, if there are problems, it is on you to fix it. Do it in a kind way, do it properly, but also look inwards. Like you're going to need to improve. Like fact, you haven't got it all figured out. None of us do. So look inwards, make those improvements. But the reality is, if you are young, just say early 20s, there is so much to learn. You just haven't had the experience of it yet.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone that like wants to learn more about leadership? Like whether it's any tips or books or anything. Like, is there any way you point them in the direction to, or anything you'd say to those people that want to become better leaders and better managers?
I think probably anything good. I mean, nothing specific comes to mind. But communicate. Also, it's all down to communication, right? Understanding people, understanding incentives. Listening. So I would say communication probably covers like most of what you need to dial in there, because that is ultimately most of it. It is, like you said, about hesitating to speak to someone about something difficult. It is going to be difficult conversations, and you're always going to have problems. So I think in terms of leading people, it's going to come down to communication. And then all sorts of the growth thing is massive. We can go all day long, because they're going to need to get better as a business owner. But there are so many aspects they need to get better at, because there are just going to be so many levels to that. But just understand, just brace in, because it's going to be a long journey. Going back to books, I actually don't think with business, so communication for like leadership, going on that, there are tons of leadership books. There's tons, but
it's probably quite hard to pick one, because everyone's got a different style of leadership, right? Because it's not like here's the things you say and here's the things you do. As you said, it's communication, and communication is quite a like an organic thing, right? You can't force kind of fake communication, right? It's just about how you actually speak with it in individuals and how you make them feel. So there's not necessarily like a step-by-step playbook for it.
Yeah,
is that fair to say?
And again, if we break it down, if you're going to just assume someone's hiring people, right? So that person needs people to want to work for them and with them on this journey. So you got to sell that, but people need to want to be on that journey with you. So first of all, you need to be able to. The people need to want to work for you and your company and what you're doing. So that you need to figure that out. When you're actually leading people, the reason that's important is because that will filter into the leadership, right? How are you motivating people to actually want to turn up, do a great job, and remain satisfied? But then how you deliver that it's all communication, right? You got to inspire people, inspire them to come in and do their best. When you're setting the standards, you got to communicate in the way that people actually care. Otherwise, you got to make sure someone does want to turn up early and deliver the best possible session, or quickly realize when you're talking to the wrong person, they're never going to turn up early and they're never going to deliver a great. They don't care. When you talk about world-class standards, they're like, oh, whatever. Yeah. So that's listening, that's understanding, that's communication. There are leadership books, and you'll find them. Just search. But I do think the best tip I could give for business owners learning business is actually biographies and autobiographies. Rather than looking for like a new tactical book on systems, read from people that have done it, and they're not making money from their books. I'm talking all the greats, anyone that's built anything of massive size. You'll find a book, and they're talking through their journey. The reason that's valuable is you'll hear about them talking about principles and like an attitude, rather than this new system or this new thing. And I think that's what a lot of leaders need. They need to be better themselves and realize. And if you listen to someone else's story, you kind of see the trials and tribulations. You see the effort they put in, even when they were knocked down and it was going to fail. And I think a lot of people actually learn more from that than trying to find the business book that someone's selling because they need to make money from the book. There's lots of old books that are way more valuable, and the person that wrote it is passing down messages to the future generation. They're not trying to make money from that book. Read anything about Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, all the greats, and then obviously anyone else around in that size.
The biography of Steve Jobs is very good. It's very long, but it's very good. Very, very interesting. His whole story is just very, very, very interesting. But that's so good to hear. And so we can talk about team. I want to move on to kind of product and retention, kind of like the final piece of the puzzle and the final piece of the formula. And obviously team feeds into that massively, right? Because if you don't have the right team, they can't deliver the right product. So your attrition rates, what's the metric you are kind of aiming for, and what is it you've been doing kind of 2024?
2024 averaged out at 3% churn.
Nice.
On average a month, 3.1. We want to shoot for 98% retention, so 2% churn on a monthly basis. And that for us is what we want to aim for, right? So that's what we achieved 2024. That was a lot of the effort last year went into team development. So building this kind of like system where we can literally develop and mentor coaches on scales as we grow and move on. So a big effort was on team development, observing team members, giving them lots of feedback, and we want those coaches to be the best. That is the majority of the product that we're delivering. They are delivering the sessions, but we've also put work inside to improve that number. There is, to keep it simple, we've got the on the floor stuff, the delivery of the sessions, and we've got the off the floor stuff. So to take that from a 97% retention to 98% retention, we need to improve both things. But we've got more improvements to make on the outside stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep improving the on the floor stuff, but we as a business identified that we have more growth on the off the floor stuff.
Because 3 to 2 doesn't sound like that much, but actually it's improving. It's 30% less people leaving than last year. So it is actually quite a big leap that you're looking to make, even though it seems small when you go like 3 to 2. But obviously 3 is still like a really, really impressive result at that number as well. So what is the off the floor stuff you're probably looking to improve to be able to aid that attrition rate?
Going back to what we said earlier about the conversation, so it's about having meaningful conversations with the members. But because of the size of the gym we are and with the model we run, people are there for different reasons, and they also want different levels of support. So it's not a one size fits all, and we've realised it can't be. So we want to. It's basically building systems and processes that allow us to ultimately have that conversation with that person at the frequency that they need to get them a better result or improve their experience. But it's ultimately. It's a long way. What most people know is like a check-in process or a cohort where a team of a coach will look after a team of members. They might a staff member might be responsible for a list of anywhere from 25 to 50 members. They are responsible for checking in with that person.
Yeah.
Right? But we don't want to stick to one size fits all. We won't just email that person the same message every month to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
Some people need way more than that. Some people don't really want to be bothered. Some people are happy just cruising for 9 months of the year, but 3 months of the year they want to push it.
Yeah.
So we're constantly finding how do we get that out of people, but make sure we keep improving their experience with us. And it's just having those conversations with members.
And it kind of sounds like going back to giving the coach that sort of freedom or autonomy to be able to reach out to them in the way that they know is best for that client. Is that fair to say as well? Or?
Yeah. So exactly that. But you only know that with so you can ask. So this again is something we have not got nailed, and we're trying to improve. We also, up till today, have done way more for small group PT members, because that was what they're paying for a certain amount of delivery on the floor and paying for a certain amount of support off the floor. Large group was seen in a different way, but things are changing as we go. There's a certain amount that we expect to do off the floor for both, right? And we're improving both sides. To go back to that for a second, the more you get, the better you get to know someone, you can make that decision on how you feel they could be supported, but you can also ask them. So
Nice. And you mentioned that you're improving both sections. What are some things you're doing to improve both like small group and large group?
So for some large group facility, obviously with personal training, it's pretty standard in our industry for people that are doing it well would deliver a certain quality on the floor. They offer support off the floor. They'll do things like in-bodies, reviews with members, potentially a certain amount of nutrition guidance for including in their fee up to a point where they maybe then pay for like one-to-one nutrition coaching. But a lot of kind of support off the floor, and that could be, like I said, through conversations and coaching, in-person reviews, just helping them achieve their goal. With large group facilities, it's often people just train and leave. Lots of large group facilities that are like class-based gyms, it's typically a place where you go and train.
And that's it. It's just training. Yeah.
Yeah, and some people are happy, typically maybe because it attracts that audience that just want to do that. But a lot of like boutique large group facilities will be a place to train, and that is it. There is no. But what we've learned from our personal training, there is more we can do for them. It has to make sense for the business, and how do we build the systems in to help us do that? So we're just always looking to those members, especially in an area like ours and here we see people are here for the long term. Based on those attrition, like those rates, like people were with us for 33 months, on average, right? That very easily, we were working closer towards 50. If we hit our attrition target, that will become the average lifetime will be 50 months, right? People are here for a long time.
I can't believe I didn't ask that. Do you know what the lifetime value or average length of engagement is once someone becomes a member? Is it different for a small group and large group as well?
Well, last year, at the end of last, we achieved is 33 months.
Wow.
3 years. That's the time. But that can you manipulate that closer to 2%. We're looking at 50 months.
Yeah,
right?
That's incredible. Yeah. And so a question that came to mind, because you said that you're pulling a lot, maybe more of the off the floor personal side into the group side of things to give them there. Do you might not know this, right? But obviously it's 3% attrition. Is the attrition lower in small group because it's got that off the floor stuff, and is it slightly higher in the large group because it doesn't have that stuff at the moment? And are you bringing that element in to help aid that specific section, which will bring the average down in total?
Yeah, so it's a way of yes, it is. So it's like we have a better retention rate with personal training than we do with large group.
Yeah.
Now, we want to improve. I want to improve the support that we give large group members, just because we want to make it better. We always want to make the product better.
Yeah.
But a way to keep score is the numbers, right?
Yeah.
So we know whether we're doing that by monitoring the numbers. It's also a different. What I'm starting to learn by watching is seeing the different type of people that join and why they might be training, because you might have a different. So that like we might find that the retention of personal training will always be better than large group training. That could be because of the relationships that are built.
Yeah.
It could be the support we add outside. It could be the type of bite that the consumer is different. So are people that are signing up to large group, they have different reasons for training than the personal training member, which might affect that long term. This person that signs up to this model, on average, might only stay with the gym for a certain amount of time anyway. They are buying for different reasons potentially to this person.
Yeah.
Right? It makes sense. I can't say for certain, but I'm just reading, I can make assumptions.
Well, yeah, it's never going to be even across the two, right? And there's all sorts of things you can kind of hypothesize in terms of like, these guys get more personal attention, so can we bring that over? One, just to improve the quality of the product, because why wouldn't you want to do that? But then two, it means that people will stay for longer and continue to get more out of training and better results, and ultimately that's a win-win for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So that's really, really interesting. So in terms of like, what would you say your key lesson is from 2024 in terms of like retention and keeping people on board, and what's something you're kind of like implementing in 2025? What's the key thing there?
There's a lot, but just going all in on products, because that there's so much there, right? So product. So when I say improve the products, that is the on the floor coaching and it's off the floor support. That also includes us developing our coaches. So we're doing going into this year. There are so many things that come off the back of that, but people need that we're not worrying about. Yes, what we do for sales and marketing is important, right? And there's a huge focus there. But arguably, we have to improve the quality of what we're delivering on the gym floor.
Yeah.
And that will knock on that. That's for regular members and it's for new trialists. We have to keep getting better at that. And we're always looking at how do we make this better? What does that look like? And the sessions can always be marginally better. The way that we're even developing the coaches, the amount we're providing them for CPD this year will be way better than it was last year. So loads of things based on product. Second thing is organic content. So just going all in on organic to help the kind of marketing efforts.
Nice. And in terms of like improving that product, obviously you've invested heavily in the team, like as of last year, in terms of one, recruitment, but two, investment of that team. And then obviously everything you're doing on the gym floor and off the gym floor as well. So looking forward to when we catch up next year to do a podcast, see how everything's all gone. I want to touch on what you spoke about at the start, because I thought it'd be better to bring it back to this section because we're kind of within the customer service, the products and everything there. So you mentioned it. What was it? It was costs and specifically cost control. Cost control. Okay, cool. So this might be a phrase that some people have heard, but maybe a lot of people haven't actually heard. So yeah, if you can kind of dive into what this is, and yeah, we'll go from there.
So I think there's something again. Through learning from people that I respect that are way ahead of me. So have run way bigger businesses, have generated way more revenue, built bigger teams, way more successful because the businesses are really profitable. And this is people I've had the luxury of having conversation with, or books that I read, right? Anyone that has built a business a successful business. What I mean by that, they are on scale and profitable. Now, they all talk about cost control, because that's where people go wrong. And the fact that this doesn't come up enough is it highlights the problem, right? Because when you run a business, it's easy to focus on generating revenue. And when I was first started, that's what I knew. So as I grew into being a business owner, getting people to sign up to the gym, generating more cash, new members, delivering products, all the stuff we spoke about today is kind of my bag. But unless you control the finances on the way out and what you're spending, you might be in a problem. You might have a problem down the line, right? Because you need to manage the pennies ultimately. Some people might start business with really high financial skill, but most probably don't, especially in our industry. But it's and I know from experience from getting this wrong. So I'm talking from a place where I've got this wrong, right? So if you don't manage your costs going out, you potentially you can spend too much money, right?
Yeah.
And you spend money on the wrong things. So the easy way to look at it, you need to be monitoring everything. So what is being spent, and is that necessary? The people that do this the best, that like I said earlier, is that they are monitoring costs, but not at the detriment of a good product. So they're not being tight and therefore delivering a subpar product. They care a lot about the product. By making savings in areas that don't matter, they're able to deliver a better product.
And is that because they can put more resources into the product versus what they were spending before?
Exactly. So just say you waste money in the back, so something that members can't see, right? So we spend money on something that really does not add that much value to the team or the members. It potentially could have been wasted. The business needs to be financially stable. It also needs to make profit, right? But also you need to be able to reinvest in the gym, in your people. So if you're spending money on things, just say, for example, you have a few, it's all the little things. So just say we have a few subscriptions that we don't use. We buy something new when we could have fixed something old, right? And we are spending money on this thing that is not bringing us any value. The combined, so individually they might not look that big, but there might be a few grand spent there.
This happens a lot. So like this is something that Ben will do every few months, just scan through all the outgoings. And what you'll realise is like the amount of small subscriptions to things that people have signed up with is just like it adds up to a lot.
Yeah.
But you don't realise it over time. So it's like kind of like weeding out these small things that you no longer actually like utilise.
Yeah, and just imagine you go to like, just say some kit is damaged or broken, and you're not able to repair things as quick as you want. So you're like, I'd like to repair that, but I can't afford it. What a shame that is, because you're probably wasted the money somewhere else. So the whole point is, don't waste the money on these things that do not impact the members' experience or the coaches, but which impacts the members' experience. Because that could be you say, do not spend that, but you need to religiously look at it as the founder. And some people might have this down, but a lot of people don't. And you see people that I said that have grown really successful businesses, they are very on it with all their costs, and they constantly monitor them. And because that's one thing you can guarantee to control. Whereas your revenue on the way in, you can estimate sales and you can estimate trials. It's not guaranteed. If you cut a cost, you say, right, we're currently spending £1,000 for this. I don't think I need that though. Cut it. You've made yourself £1,000. You've literally saved £1,000. Yeah. That won't change. That's saved. So you've earned yourself £1,000. Yeah. The stuff on the way in isn't guaranteed. Yeah. You can do all the things to increase the chances. It's not guaranteed. So one of the best things to do for people just to, like I said, are there things you're paying for that you don't need? Is that thing actually bringing value back? Do you need to buy that right now? Can it wait a month? Yeah. That sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's also, so it's like going through these things and it's really asking yourself, like, is this providing me a return, or is this actually impacting the team or the product there as well? But some people may take that very literally, right? So like some people, let's say like when it comes to like investing in marketing, some people might see that as a cost, but because they don't know their numbers, they truly don't know the impact of what that's having to the business in terms of feeding the business new trialists and new members. So some people might see that as a cost, but actually that's more of an investment. Do you have that mentality as well when you look through these things? You're going, look, this money here is actually making us generating us more members and people going through the product, versus this thing that isn't actually contributing to the growth of the business or the product of the business.
100%. Exactly, that's the difference. One's an investment, one's just a straight up cost. So it's like, what if there's probably savings if someone is not, just say that they're holding back on spending on working with a marketing agency, or they're holding back on spending on ads, but they're actually wasting all this money over here. So these two things over here, the ad spend and the ad agency, is going to bring you new business, and you're telling yourself you can't afford that, but you're wasting money over here.
Yeah.
So where can you trim? Where can you be leaner? And that could sometimes be, it could be team, it could be just wasteful stuff, right? But you need to look deeper and figure that out. But yeah, one is an investment. It's going to bring you a return. And if you don't spend, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because if you don't spend, if you don't make the investment, you're not going to make a return.
I hear quite often where people go, I just spent 10K on a bunch of new kit. Now, of course, like sometimes things need to be upgraded and revamped, but a lot of the time the setup they had was perfectly fine, but they just decided to buy new kit because like most gym owners want to get new toys into the business, right? But then they look at marketing, they go, oh, I can't afford that because I've just bought all this new kit. But you actually haven't got people coming into the business to even utilize the kit at the same time. So what would you say to someone that is like, because it's about getting a fine balance, right? Because it's really important to have a great product, but at the same time, like you can deliver a great product without having necessarily the shiniest kit. Now I know you've gone all in the setup there, so it's kind of like a catch-22. Like, what should you do? Should you go all in on this, or should you focus on marketing? What would you say?
Yeah, I think again, it's hard. The only thing to answer that, I'll give an example. So at the moment, there is a bunch of stuff that we. So although you look at Madisons, they look very shiny and everything's brand new and we've got the best quality. There are still there is. I could think at the moment there's 10 to 12, 20 grand's worth of kit that I'd like to order right now, right? Because I'm visualizing what that would do to certain parts of the gym. We don't need it. And it's just it's got to be part of the strategy. So I'm thinking, right, we don't need to go and order that right now. Now I would think, like, what impact will that have on the service? And I'm like, obviously a positive. That's the reason I want it. And I'm making the right decision on the kit we're buying. But the time is now, like, when is going to be really important now. I know that stuff will add value to the membership, but do we need that right now? No.
Yeah. So you could take half your yearly marketing budget and put it into the kit and buy it, and you've got the kit. But then now, because you're not feeding the machine, you're now not going to get close to the marketing target, which is going to result in less trials and less members. So although you've got the nice kit, potentially that could actually slow you down if you don't spend in the right manner, I guess.
And and also more importantly, I think, are you hiding other problems? So for example, if I looked at that, right, no, like if I look at that, right, will that have an impact on the products or service? Yes. What else can we do right now for free? But it's more effort. It actually takes more effort. So there's other things we can do right now which would add arguably more value to the members' experience and their results, which don't cost anywhere near that. They're actually, that we can do them as a team. Are they harder problems to solve? Yes. Going to buy that thing would actually be easier. Going to spend that money would be easier, but it's not the right thing to do. These other things here that are harder to solve. How do we solve this problem where we have to build this system, build this communication, allocate this person time, create responsibility, change someone's role? That is all way more difficult, but it's the better solution. So that's, I think, when you look at it, it's like, right, are people delivering potentially a subpar experience for their members? They might go and buy the shiny kit, but their onboarding process is completely shot. The support they're providing to the members outside the sessions is not there. So it's a priorities thing. Yeah,
and I guess another way to look at it is like, if you were to pick, if you could have your team 10 out of 10, most personable, delivering an A-star service, but you've got kind of subpar equipment, or best equipment in the world, the shiniest thing, but the team are subpar. Like, which one would you rather have? And I believe most people would say they'd have the hot team. Now, in an ideal situation, you have both, right? And you work towards it. But in terms of delivering that quality product, most of that quality is going to come through the coaching team versus the facility. The facility is just there to facilitate that coaching experience. And of course it does add to it, but really, like, that can you tick the boxes of all the things you do before looking to upgrade the kit, essentially?
Yeah, that option, that example you just gave, the shiny place is the good kit, but poor team might attract more leads, but I guarantee trial conversion and long-term retention will be poor. Versus the other place, they might be slower to attract people in because they're slower to attract the people that want fancy stuff, but how the community in that place will be great. Retention will be incredible. Lifetime value will be way higher. So as a business, that place will probably 100% operate better. They've got a better product. They've got a great team. But so yeah, when you're just thinking, so you just got to really like look at when you're about to spend a pound, any penny or pound. Is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
Is this the right thing we should be purchasing? Is there something more valuable? Can we wait? Can we wait 60 days? Let me sleep on it.
Yeah. Is this kind of feeding the business, or is it kind of feeding something that I want, essentially? Kind of looking at it like that.
Yeah, and it's just tight. Sometimes like, right, do we need that now? No, let's wait. Because and it's just building the habit. But it's something that I wish I learned sooner. I said all successful people that are doing truly well are really hot on that. And again, it's better for everybody involved, because like I said, you're being more resourceful, and you have to, like I said, going back to it, you're able to then to improve the members' experience by not wasting it and actually using it like for useful things.
Yeah. And so as we're now kind of into 2025, I think it's January 22nd, people will be listening to this episode. We've kind of gone through the metrics that you're looking to hit. What would you say is like your kind of vision moving forward with Madisons, with Minka, with everything? Are you just looking to hone in on these two and focus there? Do you have any other sites available? What's the plan for you next?
There's long-term plans, long-term vision, but right now really focusing on the next 12 months is like growth. So going back to that organic and like a marketing piece, we wanted to grow in members. However, product and community. So our big focus, we will do more events at bigger scale and better events this year than ever before. So we're really up in the game with the community. We found that the compounding benefit of now being the size we are, the engagement is higher. We have friendships forming. So the events now are more valuable, and we're seeing the compounding benefit of doing those things. We're seeing you see the kind of connection between Madisons and Minka really flourishing now. And also, like I said, product. We've got a great team. So you take those 8 great coaches, and they're all chasing 1% better every week. The progress in 12 months will be mad. So going all in on product improvements and community, which will obviously both, if you do those things well, we grow.
I love how you said, obviously the factor is, the main goal is growth, but underneath that is product and community, because without those two things, then growth just isn't going to, it doesn't matter how good the marketing is, how good the sales is. If you don't have those things locked in, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So I think that is a perfect place to wrap off. Jerome, thank you so much for coming down. I think we should do a review in 12 months' time and see the lessons learned and the goals for next time, and maybe make this an annual thing. But yeah, thank you very much for coming in, and I hope you have an excellent 2025.
Thank you very much. You too.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode of the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast and are looking to grow and scale your fitness business, then we can potentially help. If you visit fmademo.co, you can go ahead and book a call with the FMA team. Within that call, we will audit your business and your marketing process. And if we feel we can help you grow your business, we will show you the exact strategy that we are utilizing for 400 plus gyms across the world right now to show you how you can grow your business. So all you need to do is visit fmademo.co.